Hello lovely people, welcome back to my channel, or hey if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. In today's video we are going to be doing our mid-point check-in. We're going to be doing our Q2 wrap-up, our mid-year reading wrap-up I guess. I did do a Q1 wrap-up, so that's January, February, March, and now this is my kind of overdue and a little bit late Q2 wrap-up, which includes April, May and June. Nearly forgot we got there. This is essentially a time to reflect on the last month, see what's changed from Q1, look at the stats, look at what books I've been reading, favourite books, least favourite books, and then also sort of predict some books I want to read for Q3. And it's just a really interesting time to see what's changing and how I'm changing as a reader, because I feel like I have changed quite a lot since even just Q1, and also like the books I've read, the moods I'm in. It's just interesting to see. As always, let me know some of your stats down in the comments if you would like to share what has been your favourite book for Q2. I am aware we are 1 month into Q3. But we're here now, and we're doing it. We're doing the Q2 wrap up a little bit late. So I have a list of questions over on my phone, which we are gonna make our way through. So we're gonna begin with the stats. Stats time! The statistics for me are like a very interesting factor of a wrap up like this, because I feel like that's where you get the most accurate information. So let's run through the stats. How many books have I read in 2025 so far? We are currently on 68 books. That is as of now, but if we were to take away July, because I do have July on here, which doesn't include Q2, then we would have 61 books read in the year so far. So across 6 months so far, we have read 61 books, which I am pretty happy with, because my reading goal for the year was 50 books and we have smashed that out the park. I'm not going to raise the goal just because I feel like I just don't want to put pressure on the rest of the year, you know. I just want to be chill, read what I read, like no pressure is going on, so I'm just going to leave it as is. We are obviously currently 18 books over the goal, but yeah, there's no more goals that I'm going to set for that. I just feel like I just want to see where see where the weather takes us. My most read genre on Fable. By the way I am getting these stats is through the Fable app, because you can kind of see lots of different facts about you as a reader on Fable, so I found that really interesting. My most read genre this year is romance at the moment, and I believe it was romance in Q1, so nothing has changed there. I'm definitely still very much a romance reader. We have read 42 romance books so far, 11 fantasy books, 7 historical fiction books, 7 horror books, which really surprised me, and 7 thriller books. So that is the vibes. Romance is winning by quite literally a landslide. But I would like to delve into some more fantasy as the year goes on. So genre I would like to read more of is fantasy, like I just said. I feel like for the second half of the year, when it's getting into the more cozy months, we're getting into Halloween and autumn, and we've got winter. I feel like that is the time that fantasy books thrive, so I'm definitely going to be reaching for some of those in the second half of the year. I would also really like to read more literary fiction. I've been in a very big literary fiction mood recently, and yeah, I don't know, I really want to pick up more literary fiction. I feel like I don't really know the best place to start with that, because it's such a broad genre. There's so many different takes on that sort of section of the book world, and I have read a few books so far that are lit fic, but not too many, so I need to kind of have a little bit of a research and a browse and pick up some good recs that I can get to in the second half of the year. I'm not really in too much of a romance mood at the moment, I will say. I definitely am still in a romance mood, but just not like a crazy romance mood, you know? My most read authors of the year so far are still Elsie Silver, Ali Hazelwood and Kristen Hanna. I think Kristen Hanna was that in the first. That actually might be a new development. Whoa. So in Q1, my most read author was Elsie Silver, and she still has the reigning title for that award. I have read 4 of her books. I have read 3 Ali Hazelwood books. I have read 3 Kristen Hanna books, which I feel like is going to increase as the year goes on because she's my favourite author ever. We've read 3 Paisley Hope books. Again, I want that to change because I love Paisley Hope. Her books are just so good. I've read 2 Emily Henry books, 2 Frida McFadden, 2 Krista and Becca Ritchie, 2 Paige Toon, 2 Rebecca Yarros, and 2 Stephanie Archer. So that is the little list we've got going on at the moment. And my average rating, I think, has actually changed. I think it's increased since Q1, I think. I'll have to fact check that, but I'm pretty sure that's right. My average rating so far this year is a bang on 4-star rating, which I feel like is quite high, honestly. Like, that feels quite high to me. My average rating is a 4. Okay, we love that. I'm definitely someone who rates books off of vibes instead of, like, you know, ticking loads of boxes. If I'm getting a good vibe from this book, you're getting a high rating. That is kind of how I roll. And now we're going to get into the even more interesting stuff. We're going to talk about all of the fun books, and we're going to show some books for... I don't really know where I was going with that one. So we're going to start off with my top 5 books of Q2. So these don't include any of the books that I have read in July, obviously. These are just books that I read in the last 3 months, so April, May and June. So these are my top 5 out of all 3 of those months. And I'm so happy to share this list of books because I have had the best time reading them. First off, I loved Training the Heart by Paisley Hope. This one is the second book in the Silver Pines series, which is a small town cowboy romance series. Very, very, very similar to the vibes of Chestnut Springs, which is such a fan favourite. And if you are looking for a series to fill that space or that little gap in your heart where the Chestnut Springs was, then I highly recommend starting this series because it is just phenomenal. The characters are just so well written, the found family is amazing, the romance, the chemistry, oh, everything about this series I am just obsessed with, and this book in particular had me kicking my feet and giggling so much. So this one follows the brother of the main girl in book 1. He is sort of like this grumpy cowboy. He owns a ranch and he trains the horses. He's sort of like the oldest brother, I think, so he's like, you know, in charge of the siblings and the ranch and all that, and he needs a new ranch hand, or horse trainer, you know, whatever. In comes Ivy, and she moves to the small town. She needs a new job. She ends up getting hired. She's very much like a sunshine personality, and they are in close proximity because they are training the horses together, they work together, and she's living on the ranch as well. The vibes were just there. Everything about this book was so good, and I highly recommend this series. Next up, this book had to be in the list. Like, it actually had to be in the list, and that is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. I cannot tell you how much I love this book. It is just so good. This sealed the deal for me with the fact that Kristen Hanna is my all-time favourite author. This is such an emotional roller coaster, and we go through so many different events and things that happen that are just crazy and devastating, and so many emotions will be provoked, is that the right word? I don't know. Sometimes I get on a roll and then I say like a random word and I'm like, okay, we're back to reality. This one is set in the 70s and it follows a guy and his family who, so the guy was a soldier in the Vietnam War. He suffers from extreme PTSD and he's never really been quite the same. He decides to up and move his whole family to Alaska, into this small sort of town. The house is tiny, they're really exposed to the elements, and we're following the family dealing with this massive change and dealing with living in the climate that is Alaska and surviving and getting food, keeping warm, all of this stuff. Also, we are in the perspective of his daughter, so we're seeing through the eyes of a child how this could affect her, and she has to witness her parents in a very toxic, abusive marriage, so we're seeing that. And it also does time jump, so it starts off when I think she's 13 and then we time jump in the second half to when she is 17. And yeah, we span a lot of years, lots of stuff happens, and it is just such an impactful book. Highly recommend. Next up I have Anathema by Kerry Lake. This is like a dark fantasy, gothic romantic-y type of vibe. It's honestly a chunky book, I will say, but it's got so much world building, so much sort of lore in the book that you just can't help but be hooked. And the main guy is very much like a broody, dark MMC, and he also turns into a scorpion, so there's that as well. We start off this book in a very sort of hateful small town. They do not like the main girl, they think that she's a witch. The small town is very like dark vibes, and it borders on a crazy woods that they call the eating woods, I think, and they think that if you go in the woods you don't come back because you get eaten by this crazy monster. And in that woods is also like a fey realm, so that just whole plot just sounds so fun and interesting, and I highly recommend this fantasy. This would be great to pick up in Q3/Q4, so maybe add this one to your TBR. Next up we have Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. This one was such a fun, cutesy, romantic time, and it was just everything I love from an Emily Henry book and more. I definitely think the romance in this one takes a backseat. It's sort of like a subplot to the story because we're following two writers rivaling it out to get the rights to this famous woman's story, life story. She is interviewing them week by week, telling them her life story, and whoever she likes the most at the end of this experience gets the rights to write her book. So they're kind of going head to head. We've got the rivals thing going on. It was actually very reminiscent to me of a Taylor Jenkins Reid book because we are introduced to this woman's life who lived in sort of like Hollywood era, and she was from a very big dynasty. So I found it very interesting and I really liked this one. And last on this list is The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. This one is set in Georgia. Is it set in Georgia? I always say that, or is the main character's name Georgia? The main character's name is Georgia. It is set in South Carolina in a very strict, conservative, religious family. Our main character Georgia has to go back to her hometown, which she has not returned to in so long because her dad has passed away, so she is going back for his funeral, and we just have so much family drama, lots of turmoil from the past that she's revisiting. We have romance along the way with a very much golden retriever MMC, and the way that Jessa Hastings writes is just always poetic and beautiful, and I think this was one of her best pieces of work. I really enjoyed it. So those are the top 5 from Q2, which we love, and now we're gonna have to move on to the biggest disappointment of Q2, which was, I hate to say it, I hate to say this, What If I Never Get Over You by Paige Toon. This one disappointed me because I love Seven Summers by Paige Toon. I feel like I talk about that book so often, and I was really going into her new release expecting incredible things, and we just didn't get that. We didn't get that. I found this book to be very unrealistic, very sort of boring in places. I didn't believe that the characters loved each other. This is following two people who meet whilst travelling for I think like 3 days, and they arrange to meet back up after like 2 weeks because they have to do something, and then they don't end up meeting back up. Fast forward 7 years later I think, and she ends up going to work at this place where he is unintentionally, and they sort of start to rekindle things. But the way that it was written was just so unrealistic. I don't believe that they, after 3 days of knowing each other, would have felt this way 7 years later. I think they was both very immature and they didn't communicate well. It did still have that same Paige Toon feel to it, so like I did still have a fun time reading it. It just did let me down, and it wasn't by any means my favourite book of hers. So the next question is, what are 2 books I would like to read in Q3? And those books are Blue Sisters by Coco Moores. This one is a literary fiction book that I can't wait to get to. This is the author of Cleopatra and Frankenstein, which I haven't read, but I feel like that is such a popular book, so I maybe need to pick that one up too. This one follows 3 sisters in their journey of mourning their 4th sister who has sadly passed away. So we have 3 very, very different sisters. Avery is a lawyer in London, we've got Bonnie who is a boxer turned bouncer in LA, and we have Lucky who is like sort of a party girl in Paris. So they're all living in different places, they've all got very different professions, and we're just following their journey in grieving. And they all unite in New York to stop the sale of their childhood home. This one I feel like I'm gonna rate very highly, and I also love the cover, that is gorgeous. And the second book I really want to get to in Q3 is Nocticadia by Kerry Lake. This was my July book club pick and I didn't get round to it. I know, it's terrible of me, it's terrible, but I'm definitely gonna read this in the remainder of Q3 because it's just one of those fantasy books that I know I'm gonna love. I'm predicting this to be a 5-star. I loved Anathema by Kerry Lake. This one is set in like a university where sort of trying to figure out what's going on. There's lots of dark and eerie things happening. I think it's fantasy, but not as fantasy as Anathema. I think it's more like little bits of fantasy. We've got a romance going on with someone, I think he was called Dr. Death. That's what I've heard. And yeah, I'm very excited for this one. An author I would like to read in Q3 is Amber V. Nicole. So she is the author of the Book of Azrael, which is currently a trilogy, but there's more books coming out in the future, I believe. Everyone seems to be obsessed with this book and Amber V. Nicole's writing, and I just really need to see what the hype is about. I need to read one of her books because I actually own all 3 that are published, so I really need to get on that because I own the whole series. And yeah, I've heard people say that her writing is incredible, so definitely excited to give this one a go. And that is my Q2 wrap up. So that is the stats and the vibes, that's where we're at. That is also like my mid-year wrap up as well, so that's fun. Like I said, let me know in the comments what your favourite book or least favourite book has been of Q2. Thank you so much for watching today's video. This was a new backdrop. I am actually in my sister's room because there's builders next door, and where my window is, they have like a radio and you can really hear the music through my window even though my window's shut. So we had to move backdrop. I've tried to make it a little cozy in the back. If you were wondering, this is a new backdrop unlocked. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. I really hope to see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Bye guys.